দর্শক স্বাগত জানাচ্ছি বিশেষ মুখোমুখি অনুষ্ঠানে। সচরাচর দেশ নিয়ে কথা বললেও আজকে বিদেশ নিয়ে কথা বলবো এবং আজকে আলোচনার বিষয় হচ্ছে ফিলিস্তিন। আপনারা জানেন সাম্প্রতিক সময়ে বেশ কিছু ঘটনা ঘটেছে। গাজায় যে মিসাইল হামলা হয়েছিল সেগুলো নিশ্চয়ই আপনারা দেখেছেন। এর পাশাপাশি সাম্প্রতিক সময়ে মার্কিন যুক্তরাষ্ট্র তাদের বেশ কয়েক দশকের অবস্থান পাল্টে এখন বলতে চাচ্ছে ফিলিস্তিনের একটি অংশ, যেটিকে ওয়েস্ট ব্যাংক বলা হয়ে থাকে, সেখানে এতদিন ইসরায়েল যেসব বসতি গড়েছে সেগুলো নাকি আন্তর্জাতিক আইন অনুযায়ী তাদের মতে বৈধ। কেন তারা এমনটা ভাবছেন এবং সব মিলিয়ে এর কি প্রভাব পড়তে চলেছে ফিলিস্তিনের উপর এবং সার্বিকভাবে ফিলিস্তিনের ভবিষ্যৎ নিয়ে আমরা কথা বলতে চাই। নিয়ে কথা বলতে আমাদের সাথে আজকে যোগ দিয়েছেন বাংলাদেশে নিযুক্ত ফিলিস্তিনের রাষ্ট্রদূত জনাব yhese রমাদান। ওয়েলকাম টু আওয়ার শো।
থ্যাংক ইউ।
আলোচনায় যাবার আগে দর্শক, গত কদিন আগে 14 তারিখের একটি প্রতিবেদন আমরা দেখতে চাই। সেটি যে হামলাগুলো হয়েছিল গাজায় সেটি নিয়ে তৈরি করা হয়েছে, সেখানে যে ক্ষয়ক্ষতি তার কিছু চিত্র আপনারা দেখবেন সেখানে।
চোখের জলে প্রিয়জনকে শেষ বিদায়, কারোবা বাবা, কারোবা প্রিয় সন্তান। ফিলিস্তিনের গাজা উপত্যকা জুড়ে এখন স্বজনদের আহাজারি আর বারুদের গন্ধ। গেল দুদিনে ইসরায়েলি বর্বরতার শিকার তারা।
জানালা থেকে দেখছিলাম প্রথমে ওই বাড়িতে বোমা হামলা, এরপর ড্রোন থেকে ছোড়া রকেটে চোখের পলকে পুড়ে ছাই মোটরসাইকেলে থাকা বাবাও তার দুই ছেলে।
ইসরায়েলি নির্মমতার শুরু মঙ্গলবার ভোরে। ইসলামিক জিহাদ নেতা বাহা আবু আল আতার বাড়ি লক্ষ্য করে প্রথমে বিমান হামলা চালায় ইসরায়েল। জবাবে তেল আবিব লক্ষ্য করে কয়েকটি রকেট ছোড়ে ফিলিস্তিনিরা। এরপরই গাজার স্কুল, মসজিদ সহ বিভিন্ন স্থাপনায় অন্তত 50টিরও বেশি বিমান হামলা চালায় ইসরায়েল। বৃহস্পতিবার সকালে দেইর আল বালা এলাকায় ইসরায়েলি বোমায় প্রাণ হারান নারী, শিশু সহ একই পরিবারের 6 জন, আহত হন আরো 12 জন।
কেন আমাদের ঘর এভাবে গুড়িয়ে দেওয়া হয়েছে? ইসরায়েলি টিভি প্রচার করছে আমাদের ঘর নাকি হামাসের কাশিম ব্রিগেডের আস্তানা, অথচ ওদের সাথে আমাদের কোনো সম্পর্কই নেই।
হাসপাতালে আহতদের চিকিৎসা দিতে হিমশিম খাচ্ছেন চিকিৎসকরা।
ক্ষণে ক্ষণে বাড়ছে নিরস্ত্র ফিলিস্তিনিদের প্রাণহানির সংখ্যা। কেবল বুধবারই নিহত হয়েছেন অন্তত 19 জন, গুরুতর আহত হয়ে ভর্তি হয়েছেন 55 জন।
এমন নির্মমতায় জার্মানি, জর্ডান সহ অনেক দেশ নিন্দা জানালেও নির্বিকার ইসরায়েল সরকার।
সেনাবাহিনীর পারফরমেন্সে আমি খুবই খুশি। এখন চাইলেই যে কোনো স্থানে লুকিয়ে থাকা সন্ত্রাসীদের আস্তানায় গিয়ে হামলা চালাতে পারছে ইসরায়েলি বাহিনী। এটা আমাদের শক্তিমত্তার প্রকাশ।
ইসরায়েলের আরব এমপিদের অভিযোগ, পার্লামেন্ট নির্বাচনে একক সংখ্যাগরিষ্ঠতা অর্জনে ব্যর্থ হয়ে দিশেহারা নেতানিয়াহু ফিলিস্তিনিদের হত্যায় মেতে উঠেছেন।
Your Excellency, the first question I'd like to ask you is that why does it really matter what the United States say about the settlements in the West Bank? They have been backing, as you'd recall, you said in this television channel, I think a couple of years back, that although the Israelis are at the forefront, but you hold the Americans responsible for your troubles. So why does it really matter what they think about the legal status of the settlements in the West Bank?
Well, it is good evening for the viewer. First of all, assalamu alaikum. The issue is clear. Since the United States of America decided to become an intermediate between Palestinian and Israeli in the peace agreement, they have to be fair at least, or semi-fair, let's say, not 100% fair. But this time, by recognizing Jerusalem, first of all, as the capital of Israel, shifting their embassy to Jerusalem, that was the first step. And the second step is they don't go against the Palestinian only, they go against the international community by recognizing the settlement as legal, while at the same time, international community, all of it, from right to left, east, west, north, and south, says follow the Geneva Convention, the Article 49, that occupation has no right to build or transfer any of its citizens to the territory which they occupy, which the occupying power occupy. So when the American come to the, and by the way, the American in 1978 during Carter administration, they have decided that that settlement in the West Bank or Jerusalem illegal. And since then, even in the United States of America, it's in compliance with the international law and the Geneva
And
Convention.
suddenly Donald Trump comes in and changes
Absolutely,
everything.
he wants to give a gift, a great gift to Netanyahu, because all these are gifts. Giving him Golan Heights, for example, Jerusalem issue, shifting the embassy, and now try to legalize the settlement in the occupied territory. This gives Israel signal, very clear signal, that you can grab more and more land, you can build more and more settlements, and you have nothing to worry about, because we are protecting you from the international law. We're protecting you from any indictment. We are protecting you from any harm which might come to you. So why not to go ahead?
I thought there were two very curious things about what Mr. Pompeo had to say about this. First of all, he was saying that, well, we're not saying all the settlements are legal or illegal. It is for the Israeli courts to decide. I'd want your reaction on that. And secondly, he was saying that this is a very unique scenario, and this stand of ours does not apply to any other case around the world. Why is it so that the Palestinian situation has to be singled out and declared to be the jurisdiction solely of the Israeli courts and no concern of the international community?
That's the funny thing about it, actually, that international law does not say because you're white you abide with, and because you're black you don't abide with it, or if you're Asian you have to fulfill it, and if it doesn't say that. This international law and all Geneva Convention and everything
These are supposed to be international.
It's supposed to be international for everybody. So when he come and rewrite the history and rewrite the law, that's another issue. Are you eligible to rewrite the law of the international law? You're not. And why you're saying that clearly, that this apply on this area and does not apply on others? What does that supposed to mean? That there is black and white here. Because America, the United States of America, clearly saying today that we are going to support Israel under any circumstances or condition, whether Israel is right or wrong. We are behind Israel.
All right. Now the question comes, the international community has been consistently saying that these settlements are illegal.
True.
Now, what is the basis of that?
The basis of that is mainly the 1948 the Geneva Convention, which clearly stated that settlement built in occupied territory is illegal. Transferring citizen of the occupying power to the occupied area is illegal.
But I think there were certain other specific UN resolutions to this effect.
There is many UN resolution, and the last resolution was 2334 in
16.
December 2016. That was the latest one. And the
What did it
American
say?
let it pass. It's clearly stated that settlements in the occupied territory, which was occupied in 1967, June 1967, any activity, unilateral activity, is illegal. That includes Jerusalem, East Jerusalem. Very clearly stated. There is many points in it, but that is related to these issues. There is also many resolutions by the Security Council and by the General Assembly stated the same thing. And also the court, the International Court, same issue.
It's time for a break. I'm sorry. দর্শক একটা ছোট্ট বিরতির সময় হয়ে গেল। ইংরেজিতে কথা বলতে হচ্ছে যেহেতু আমাদের দুজনের সাধারণ ভাষাটি ইংরেজি, যদিও যার যার মাতৃভাষা ভিন্ন। যাই হোক, একটু পরে ফিরে আসছি, আশা করি সঙ্গে থাকবেন। দর্শক, আপনারা দেখছেন বিশেষ মুখোমুখি, কথা হচ্ছে ফিলিস্তিন নিয়ে। আমাদের সাথে আছেন ফিলিস্তিনের রাষ্ট্রদূত হিজ এক্সেলেন্সি ইউসেফ এসওয়াই রমাদান। Coming back to you, I was wondering if you could explain what is happening in the West Bank. I think we have a map handy here. And what is really happening there? What we see in orange is supposed to be under Palestinian control. And the rest of the places, which are generally in blue and in a darker shade of blue, these are all controlled by Israel.
True. In fact, in reality, on the ground, they control all of it, completely. According to the Oslo Accord, or the Oslo agreement between them, there is area called A, B, and C. Now, area A should be all controlled by the PNA, Palestinian National Authority. B, we control it together. C, they control it for a certain period of time, then we take over.
How long?
it should have been 5 years. From 1993, it's supposed to have ended in 1998. But now we are almost 21 years over that, over this agreement. Over that, they came and built a wall, which divide the cities and divide the villages at the same time. So if you're lucky, your division will be where, for example, the school and the municipality is, so your children can go to the school. If you're not lucky, then you're on the other side of the wall. Your children cannot come to that school.
So these walls are between the Israeli settlements and...
It's very far from the Israeli settlements. It's in the West Bank, inside the West Bank. It divides the West Bank from upper north to down south. And it goes into our land. It's all of it, it's in the West Bank, in the territory of the West Bank. But what they have done is, the wall, if they wanted to build a wall, they should have built the wall in the territory that they occupied on the 1967, which defined the West Bank from Israel, or 1948 from 1967. But instead of doing that, they have made this wall dividing cities and villages in the West Bank. In this case, they have grabbed over 18% of our land extra to their land, excluding the settlement they have already built on, excluding the land of the settlements. So they want more and more lands. It's the international law and the court, the international court said it is an apartheid. It's an act of an apartheid regime. They said it is security. This doesn't give them a security. What gives them a security is peace, is really peace, and to address the issue of the Palestinian. Now, as I was just to explain to you, that the main reason for all of that, the bombing, the shelling, the killing, the harassment of the people, the detention of children even. We have 300 child in the Israeli jail, for example, between 11 to 15 years old, 300 in jail, including 13 girls, female. The reason for all that is to get the people out of Palestine. So they want more geography, less demography. People to
and
get...
the settler population has been growing steadily.
Yes. They're almost coming to 1 million, close to 1 million in the West Bank.
They've crossed 500,000.
Yeah, they're 600 and something, 680,000. And they're still growing. It doesn't mean that that they don't have land in the 1948 to build for them. It's big enough. They have enough land to build houses for them. But occupying, taking more and more territory, this is the Israeli nature. This is the policy of Israel. They want all the country, simply because the international community only talking, nothing else. They are not able to do anything in practice, and they're not able to
United
put
States
pressure.
has been trying to argue is that calling these settlements illegal hasn't been helping the resolution of the problem. And what Mr. Pompeo has been trying to say is that, well, we're leaving that open, and this does not hinder the possibility of a settlement between the Israelis and the Palestinians. What do you make of that?
This excuse is much worse than the decision itself, because even the American lawmaker did not believe him. So why should I believe him? How can I believe something irresponsible, something not realistic at all? This is adding more to the problem, because the main problem between us and Israel, why we stopped the negotiation with Israel, is Israel continue to build more settlement, continue to grab or to confiscate land. That was the main reason we stopped the negotiation with Israel. And the last time I think we had done this, it was during Olmert, when he was in power, before he went to jail on the issue of corruption also. And George Bush, he put pressure on the President Abbas to sit and negotiate with him. And the only condition we had is that you should stop building settlements. which they stopped for 10 months only. And then they started again. I mean, when they started again, they started full power, so they don't lose the 10 months which they already have. So the main reason is the land. And we have agreed from the beginning that it's peace for land. But you're taking the land, so it's nothing remaining for us. And how can you, Mr. Pompeo, take the land, give it to the Israeli, build settlement on it, and say this is a reality on the ground, and you still want us to negotiate the issue of land
Where there is
and
nothing
state?
to negotiate
Where is the
with.
land we're going to negotiate? It's really useless.
I mean, we've been seeing this for decades, that the United States have been backing the Israelis. But what's in it for them? Why are they backing the Israelis so hard?
There is several reasons for that. But the most important reason, I think, most of the people who are involved really in the Middle East politics or the American, they understand that in the United States of America, the Jewish lobby have a very tremendous control of one or two or three of the most important institutions in the United States of America, which is the financial institution and the media. It's under their control. And they're able to put pressure, a lot of pressure, in any administration which comes to power. They put pressure on congressmen. So they are powerful enough to dictate the policy on the United States of America.
And,
but
yes.
that doesn't mean the American cannot be free one day from this policy. They have to ask for their freedom. The American also, their policy, of course, it makes difference between one administration and the other administration, but in general, they all have to play their game according to the map drawn by this lobby, the Jewish lobby.
All right. And whether the Israeli lobbyists have any special leverage on Mr. Donald Trump, that I'd like to ask from you after a break. দর্শক, আরেকটা ছোট্ট বিরতির সময় হয়ে গেল, একটু পরে ফিরে আসছি। দর্শক, আমরা বিশেষ মুখোমুখি অনুষ্ঠানে কথা বলছি অ্যাম্বাসেডর ইউসুফ ইসমাইল রমাদানের সাথে। I was asking you whether Israelis have any special leverage on Donald Trump, because in the past few decades, as you were saying a while ago, that at least regarding the settlements, there was a consensus among the Americans that it was illegal. But why change now? Is it to help Mr. Netanyahu in the trouble that he's been going through with Benny Gantz and the formation of the coalition government? Does it have anything to do with it?
Yeah, I think it is the main reason for that was to help Benjamin Netanyahu, especially that Benjamin Netanyahu has been accused in corruption cases, 3 cases of corruption. And for Donald Trump, it is very important for a man like Netanyahu to stay in business in Israel, because he can always support him also. He's having trouble back home related to the impeachment and the issue of Ukraine. So he believed that they can help each other. Netanyahu can put pressure on the Jewish lobby or Israeli lobby in America to help Trump. And at the same time, he'll give anything, because the thing is, he's not giving anything from his pocket. He's not giving anything that he owns. So he's not losing anything, in fact. Okay, he's giving bad reputation with his administration, and that is the last thing he think about, is giving good or bad reputation, because he have a problem with China, he had a problem with the NATO, a problem with Turkey, a problem with Japan, with South Korea, with everybody. So this guy, he doesn't care about the reputation of his country at all. What he cares about, he wants to stay another 4 years in power and then go back to his business. So he think it's his own, he think it's not international, he think it's an international market. He can purchase anything he wants from it.
But that has not been the case, because this declaration of his has been criticized by the international community, hasn't it?
Yes, it has. Did he change and did he revise the decision with all the criticism from his allies even?
So what do you think would be a formal response of the international community regarding this? Is anything forthcoming?
Unfortunately, from 1949 until today, unfortunately, we are hearing only words from the international community, condemnation from the international community. But Israel is not complying, because if nothing concrete is made to stop Israel, to make Israel stop from breaching the international law, nothing will happen. Nothing at all. Everybody is calling me a criminal, but nobody can do anything about it. So I will continue to be a criminal. I'm enjoying that. I'm benefiting from that. And I have a superpower behind me. That is the case here. When will the international community stand up and tell Israel enough is enough? Just exactly what they did in the late 70s, 80s to the apartheid regime in South Africa. That's what we need exactly.
So the international community is no homogeneous body. So there is the United States on one side, China on the other, and the so-called Muslim states here and there. From which corner do you really expect real help to come from?
First of all, the most important thing is that the unity of my people. That's the most important thing. And the people of Palestine continue to stood fast to face the occupation and to face the misery that the occupation are causing our people. The unity of my people, those are crucial issue, and those are the most important thing that we depend on. And then the second, we look about our Arabian neighbors, our Arabian brothers. That's also extremely important, because we are one body actually. We are part of this body. We
but
cannot
haven't they been
divide
bitterly
us.
divided in the last few years?
Yes. And it's getting worse and worse. But until to which extent? There must be an end for it. And there will be an end for it. Now, when it's going to be an end, I don't see anything in the atmosphere that it will end soon, but we just have hope that it will end. But at the same time, the Middle East also is part of this world. So if the international community does not stand, I mean, the case I said in South Africa, why did they stand against the apartheid? And there was a very harsh policy, which is right, against the apartheid regime. The world united when they created, when they spoke about the Iranian deal with the American.
Yes,
right?
but there seems to be a consensus in the international community regarding Palestine when it is being discussed in the General Assembly. But whenever things move into the Security Councils, things dramatically changed, and there's a veto and on. And how is that going to change? Because the United States will be sitting there in the Security Council.
Yes, it will always be sitting there in the Security Council, and it will always, especially if people like Trump is running the administration, it will always be veto. But do we as the rest of the world accept that we are ruled and guided by one single superpower? Until when are we going to accept that? Our business is not running very well, because this is it's not against the people of Palestine as much as it is against each and every human being who believe in law and order. And I think there will be a time when other country will stand up for the American and say, it's enough. We can't accept that. There will be a time for it. Now, okay, today we are the victim, it's true. We are the victim. We are resisting that, we are fighting for that, we are paying very heavy price for that. It is true. It's fine. But there will be a time when the people, the rest of the world, has to say, no, enough. It's not acceptable anymore. And hope it will be soon. We really hope so.
In the recent years, have you heard any word of hope from any of the international leaders?
No, the hope is, my hope is my people. I have to have the hope in my people. My people has to believe in that one day justice will prevail. This is number one. Now, number two is, yes, there is always hope in the international community, always. But that takes time. It's always the first
step. What has been the position
step
of, say, Russia or China regarding Palestine, and what is the relationship between you and those two states?
They have a principled attitude toward Palestine, Russia and China as well, since very long time. And they support Palestine and the Palestinian cause, and they are very much in favor of the two-state solution, and they have supported that since the early 90s, and they continue to support that. But they themselves have a problem with the American, much greater problem, much greater, especially China today. The trade war, it's a trade war between USA and China. And the world are really worried of this trade war, that it might come to a real one, not just trade. And so this issue are greater than the issue of Palestine for the Chinese and for the American. At the same time, we have to be realistic also. We can't say our cause is more important. But the thing is, what are the Arab brothers willing to do about this issue? Today is Palestine, tomorrow is Lebanon, after is Syria, Egypt, Jordan, and so on. It doesn't end
look
here.
at Yemen, it's been suffering at the hands of another Arab brother.
That's most unfortunate, actually. It's most unfortunate. The situation in the Middle East, especially in the Arab world, especially where the oil is, it's always there is an interest for other power to keep this area boiling, so they can always control things there. They always are needed to be there. Now the Americans have sent big fleet to the Gulf, right?
And Iran, to them, seems to be the greatest enemy of civilization,
Yeah,
I think.
and Israel wants to also to be part of that. Imagine Israel is going to send its own navy.
Fighting hand in hand with Saudi Arabia, maybe, in the future? Who knows?
That would be a catastrophe. I don't believe it will happen ever. No.
All right. We have to go into another break. দর্শক, আরেকটা বিরতির সময় হয়ে গেছে, একটু পরে ফিরে আসছি, সঙ্গে থাকবেন আশা করি। দর্শক, আপনারা দেখছেন বিশেষ মুখোমুখি, কথা হচ্ছে ফিলিস্তিন বিষয়ে। Coming back to the other side of Palestine, which is the Gaza Strip, every time there's some internal political trouble inside Israel, it seems someone picks a fight in Gaza, and the attention is always diverted. Is it just a coincidence, or is it connected that things coincide with trouble inside Israel?
No, it's nothing coincidence in Israel. Everything is well planned, pre-planned. In Israel itself, the last, let's say, from 2001 and above that, when the right wing came to power and hold power in Israel, people in Israel, most of the population, they are becoming more and more closer to the right wing and to the extremists. More and more extremists are being mobilizing themselves. So an Israeli prime minister or an Israeli leader wants to be a prime minister, he has to get the majority. And since he knows the majority is hardliner, he has to prove to those hardliners that, guys, here, I am the one who can shell and bomb and kill and destroy anytime I want and keep you safe.
I was curiously looking at election campaign footage, which was showing the destruction done in the Gaza Strip and showing the number of persons that have been killed. And it was trying to advocate that they could kill more people in the Gaza Strip, and that's why people should vote for them. What sort of a campaign is that?
That's how it's on our blood. That campaign is in our blood.
So the more
you spill blood, Palestinian
you can
blood,
kill, the better you are.
Even, I mean, imagine this issue of Netanyahu, a corrupted man, known to the Israeli society, known to everybody, he's a corrupted man. And still he would get he's getting 25% of the Israeli total population votes. 25% of the people voted for him. He get about 30-something, 31 or 32 seats in the Knesset out of 120.
And the footage I was talking about was from Benny Gantz's campaign.
Benny Gantz's campaign also, it's also hardline, by the way. They are not the left, or they are also from the right. wing. But it's something new now. It's a very new party. It's because it's running from a very well-known general. Also, they get the same vote. Also, he himself said, Benny Gates himself said, that he's not going to be easy on us. He will not go easy on us also at the same time. He'll be also a hardliner. He will also bomb. He will also
He was
destroy.
boasting that he killed 1,300 odd
Yes, absolutely.
Palestinians.
So imagine what kind of a campaign, instead of, if you want to run a campaign, you have to tell the people how good you are and how good you're going to be and how much development you're going to make to the country and how you're going to achieve peace and security and stability. Instead of that, you're telling how many people, how many child you're going to kill, how many houses you're going to destroy, how many olive tree you're going to uproot, and so on. So this is the society there. It's reality there. We cannot close our eyes and say...
So what's the big debate about the Israeli Arab parties? Are they any different?
No, it's another issue. The Arab in Palestine represent approximately 20% of the population, total population in Israel. Now, unfortunately, they are the fourth-class citizen in Israel, by the way. Fourth class, because you have the Jewish Ashkenazi is first-class citizen, the Sephardim, which Ashkenazi mean the European and the Western Jewish. First. Second class is the Sephardim, which is the Arab or the Middle Eastern Jewish. Third class is the Falasha, the black Jewish, who came from Africa. And the fourth is the Palestinian, or the Arabs. They are Muslim and Christian. This is how it counts. So those fourth class...
So these 20% are Israeli citizens?
They have Israeli citizen because they have to have Israeli citizen. It's imposed on them.
All right.
This is the people who left from the 1948. They were only about 150,000, and today they became almost 1.8 million, or 2 million, close to 2 million.
Grown in number.
Yes, grown in number. And by the way, all my family are there until today, uncles and so on. Only my father had to leave. So these are the Palestinian, actually. They're Palestinian, but they were forced to have the citizenship. And since it is Israel called a democratic country, they have the right to vote and they have the right to become member of the Knesset.
So, but do they have any real leverage on the policy?
No, no. Actually, what they do is, for example, they cannot be a minister. There are certain posts in the army they cannot be.
By law, they're prevented from holding those posts.
They cannot be. They cannot be at all. And also, the money spent on them for the education is much, much less than the money spent on the Jewish.
And what I hear is that Israel is spending more money in the settlements in the West Bank than they're spending in the mainland.
Absolutely, absolutely, because this is something they already have in control, and the other one is not yet.
They're trying to encourage the people to settle in the West Bank, I
yes,
think.
Of course, they do that.
So, to the voters of Israel, there is no choice between right and the left. Rather, it's extreme right and, let's say, moderate right. Is that the case? Or is there something, there's a possibility of something different coming into power in Israel?
There is left, right, and center in Israel, it's true. But unfortunately, all this left, right, and center, they agree on the strategic policy of the state. All of them. All of them, they have a policy that the more people we are able to force them to get out of the country, the better for all of us. Now, some of them, which the extreme left, they believe that it's only by establishing independent state for the Palestinian we can enjoy peace. Now, those people does not represent more than maybe 10 to 12% only, plus the Palestinian who are there where they are the 20% of the population. But those Palestinian and the other group which I was just talking about, they cannot make the majority to form a government in Israel. So the majority always will be, the country will be ruled all the time by the right wing, either the right or the extreme right. Or you can call it the modern right if you say, but it's all names which doesn't mean much.
These right-wingers in Israel have always been capitalizing on the rockets that fly in from, very occasionally though, fly in from the Gaza Strip. is that helping the Palestinian cause, the resistance that occasionally come from the Gaza Strip?
Yeah. There is two Palestinian opinion about this issue. Some opinion, official opinion, it says no, it doesn't help. It's the opposite actually. It's giving Israeli the excuse to kill more people and to bomb, and in the international level to tell the people that we're in danger, our children are in danger, rockets are, you know.
There is a security threat
when you
and so
tell the
on.
world there's 200 rockets, they think it's rockets, real rockets. They don't know those rockets. 99% of those rockets fall into in agriculture area, and nothing happens because it's just a blind rockets.
These are unguided projectiles, right?
Project. But now the other opinion says no. Okay, Israel will continue if we throw rocket or we don't. Israel will continue to kill and shell and destroy and do all kind of horrifying things to our people. And on the other hand, the only thing we can do is try to make a kind of a fear balance. They should fear us. They should feel a little bit afraid. Also, our citizen is feeling bad and terrible and afraid and terrified. We should also make them the same thing.
We should reciprocate that.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is their opinion. And,
so we're coming towards the fag end of this program. And let's suppose that all the Palestinians are united for a Palestinian state at this very moment. What happens next? What do you do? Do you throw the stones that you have been throwing at the Israelis, or do you have something more significant to do?
We'll have more significant to do, because when we are, as a Palestinian inside Palestine, are all united, when we address the international community, it will be different addressing, different way to talk to the international community. Nobody says, first you be united and then come and talk to us. We will have more points to talk about. We will have more ability to convince the others, especially the Arabs, by the way, that we need more support.
But
and
if they continue to have such deep-rooted entanglements with Israel, how do you think they would respond to such a unanimous message from the Palestine?
If we are united as a Palestinian, we can make our own strategy and find another way in order to fight Israel.
Is there a peaceful way of fighting Israel, or does it necessarily lead to armed struggle?
No, actually, personally, I believe armed struggle is the best solution. Because the Israelis have shown clearly that they don't want peace. They don't want to sit with you. They can sit with you just to kill the time. Time pass by. But in fact, they continue in your back, take your land and build more and more settlement and do whatever they wanted to do. But at the same time, we are the loser. We are the one who's losing ground. So we have to change another way. We have to find another way. It's not that the only solution is by sitting on the table and negotiating
the last
a deal.
two wars that happened didn't turn favorable results towards you, did it?
That was, see, when you fight as a whole, the whole nation fight is different than Gaza Strip fight without the West Bank. You know, it's also not fair that you keep one side fighting, and maybe other forces will be able to join us.
Okay.
I mean, the Lebanese were successful. They succeed to liberate their country by using armed force, struggling armed force, not by stones or negotiating.
All right. I wish we could talk more, but we've run out of time. Thank you so much for being with us. দর্শক, আজকের মতো বিদায় নিতে হচ্ছে। অনেক কথা হলো, হয়তো এক সময় আমরা নিচে বাংলায় লিখে দেওয়ার চেষ্টা করব যা কথা হলো, আর যারা বুঝতে পেরেছেন তারা তো জানলেনই কি হচ্ছে ফিলিস্তিনে। আজকের মতো বিদায় নিচ্ছি, ধন্যবাদ সবাইকে।